It is day number 29 of the ongoing government shutdown. A live look right there. We saw the 13th vote by the Senate come up short yet again yesterday. So still very much at a standstill. Let's talk more about this, though, here on Live Now from Fox and bring into the conversation Congresswoman, Republican from South Carolina, Nancy Mace. Nancy, thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. Is there any optimism in your mind? What will it take for the government to reopen?
All it will take will be Senate Democrats to come to the table and vote for the same clean continuing resolution that they voted for previously 13 times. This is not the responsibility of the House. We've already passed this continuing resolution or CR out of the House over a month ago. This is up to the Senate Democrats to wake up and to put the American people first. But instead, they want this $1.5 trillion in extra spending to include $200 billion for healthcare for illegal aliens. They want $2.3 million for locusts in Africa. They want money for insects in Africa before they pay our troops. That's how crazy and insane this storyline is right now.
And earlier today, we heard from Speaker Mike Johnson. He talked about, although the Senate is kind of the main driver of this, the House, he was asked if it would bring the House back to pass a CR on a new date. He said it would be a futile exercise. Would you be open in any way heading back to Washington, D.C. to get back to work to have the House in session?
I would be in Washington, D.C. 24 hours a day, voting every day, including Sundays and holidays, just to get us to be more productive. I'm all for it. But here we are at this stalemate because of some of the ridiculous spending the Democrats want to do. They want millions of dollars for feminine democracy in Africa. They want tens of $1 millions for LGBTQI programs in Honduras and South America and other places. The list goes on and on. What they would rather do than put the American people first.
And some of the Americans that are going to be suffering starting on November 1st, the well runs dry in terms of the SNAP benefits, that federal nutrition benefits, including there in South Carolina, and different states are doing different things to find that funding. From South Carolina, Governor Henry McMaster saying with federal SNAP benefits being halted November 1st due to the federal government shutdown, he's activated the Central Carolina Community Foundation's One SC Fund charity, directing the SC State Guard to assist food banks statewide to ensure these sites remain safe and orderly as demand increases. Of course, you're running for that seat, that race in governor next year. Do you support this? And is this how you would handle it if you were governor?
Of course, I support Governor McMaster's plan for SNAP benefits, but I think we can even do more right now. I'm encouraging my employees, I'm encouraging everyone I know, churches, organizations, to go and deliver food to food banks, to go volunteer an hour of time. That'll go a long way to putting together the boxes that will go to people to put food on the table for their families. In fact, I'll be headed to the grocery store this weekend to get food to deliver to the food banks next week. Anything that we can do as a local community, because in South Carolina, we have more than 500,000 people who are signed up to receive SNAP benefits, and we don't want kids to go hungry. So we should be doing everything we can in the private community, in nonprofits, churches, synagogues, etc., to provide for those in need. And there are going to be many people that will go hungry if we don't step up to the plate.
You mentioned that more than 500,000, some 560,000 people receive those SNAP benefits, half of whom are children, and that represents about 10% of the state's population. In terms of that, in terms of some of the stories, do you know someone personally that is on SNAP benefits? And what have you heard from people, from constituents there in South Carolina about how this really impacts Americans?
I have heard from constituents through my office that aren't going to be able to get their SNAP benefits, and they are concerned. We've heard from a lot of people too that are not on SNAP, but that might be employed by the federal government, who will not be able to pay rent or make their mortgage on the 1st of November. And so one of the things we're also doing is encouraging financial institutions, banks, and credit unions not to repossess the car of a soldier who can't afford to make payment, or for a federal government employee also not to take their home away from them. I'm also encouraging financial institutions, banks, and credit unions to offer some kind of a low interest rate emergency loan program at, say, 2% for the next 90 days until the government is reopened, because federal government employees, including our military, if they don't get paid, they will receive back pay eventually when the government reopens. So we want to make sure that our financial institutions are supporting supporting our workers who might have to go without. And as a member of Congress, I'm offended that there would be another member of Congress who will take a paycheck on November 1st. And I support Senator Rick Scott and anybody else that wants to make sure that Congress is banned from getting a paycheck on November 1. If we're going to keep the government shut down, we shouldn't get paid to do it.
And you mentioned November 1, and that's the big date for the SNAP benefits running dry, but also about open enrollment, as so many people will kind of get those in terms of the health care for next year. Do you think that date, do you think starting next week, there will be more pressure on Democrats and Republicans alike to come to the table to make sure the government is reopened?
Well, the Republicans have already come to the table. We put forth and passed out of the House a CR, continuing resolution, temporary budget resolution spending plan that Democrats have voted for 13 times previously over the last 4 or 5 years. So we've done our work. It's time for Democrats to pull their head out of the sand and come and work for the American people. This is going to have devastating consequences to them in the midterms next year. Republicans are going to have a wipeout because independents and even some Democrats understand how hard we've been working. And when it comes to the healthcare conversation, we need to be frank about this. It's been both Democrats and Republicans that have created this healthcare crisis in this country because they voted for Obamacare. They voted for socialized spending. They voted for the PBMs that are the middleman. They're the reason, both parties are the reason why healthcare costs are so expensive, not just in South Carolina, but across the country. And it'll be my goal as governor to have more competition in the marketplace, to reduce the red tape and bureaucracy in the healthcare market, to allow nurses, the physician's assistants, and doctors to practice for what they're certified to practice and don't have arbitrary contracts preventing competition, because this mess has been created by the government and healthcare costs are through the roof. And it's got to stop. And we've got to have bold leadership that's going to be smart and understand that what we have done as a government is hiked up healthcare costs for everybody across the country, and both parties are at fault for that.
That is a very good point. Obviously, leadership is so instrumental in times of crises like this one. And my last question, Representative, before I let you go, because you mentioned next year in some of those midterms, the race that you are running for the governor's mansion there in South Carolina. There are a couple races this year for governor in Virginia and New Jersey, and they're very tight races. How much are you looking at those right now to potentially set you up for success next year?
Well, Virginia is a swing state. It goes back and forth, but I feel very good about Winsome Earl Sears' chances, particularly after the violent rhetoric of the left and Democrats in Virginia. So I'm praying for a win for her. New Jersey really hasn't been in play in recent times, but because of Donald Trump, New Jersey is now in play for Republicans potentially to win. And I'm in South Carolina, a red state, and what I want to see in states across the country, purple states, red states, even a blue state like New Jersey, if we can get it, MAGA governors that will look like Donald Trump, act like Donald Trump, be the America First leaders that our country desperately needs right now. Because what we're watching Donald Trump do is make history at the federal level and globally around the world. The peace he's entered in the Middle East, everything he's doing in Asia right now. But we want to take that same energy and take it to the state level on down, because the policies we've seen promoted over the last several decades have hurt the American people, have hurt the working man. And we want to make sure that we're just like Donald Trump, that we implement policies that will help those who are most in need and make South Carolina the best, most prosperous state it could ever be.
All right, very good. Nancy Mace, Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us here on
Thank
Live
you.
Now from Fox. I appreciate your time.